Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, Economist-lawmaker Joey Salceda warns the worst is yet to come, with gasoline prices possibly increasing by 11 pesos next week. As the war between Ukraine and Russia continues to affect our economy, the Philippines is now looking at nuclear power as an alternative energy source. And a senator is back on the campaign trail in a bid to win a second term. Senate Committee on Energy Chairman and re-electionist Senator Win Gatchalian joins us live. Economist, lawmaker, Congressman Joey Salceda warns that the worst is yet to come. Salceda estimates gasoline prices could increase by 11.1 pesos per liter, diesel by 9 pesos and 25 centavos per liter, and kerosene by 8 pesos and 88 centavos per liter. Millions of consumers are also facing an increase in electricity rates this month. 4 transport groups have agreed not to push through with their petition of an additional 1 peso to the minimum jeepney fare hike. Obet Martin of Transport Group Pasang Masta confirmed to CNN Philippines that the decision came after the groups met with Transportation Secretary Artugade Wednesday afternoon. Martin said the government pledged it will double the fuel subsidy to the transport sector from 6,500 to 13,000 pesos each. And this will include even those in the service contract. And let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate Committee on Energy Committee Chairman and re-electionist Senator Win Gatchalian. Senator Win, welcome back to the source. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky, for inviting me. Good morning to our televiewers.
Sabi po ni Congressman Joey Salceda, the worst is yet to come. Do you believe this?
I agree with him, Pinky, because there's great uncertainty with this Ukraine-Russia crisis. Nobody knows. We don't have a crystal ball that can predict when will this crisis will end. And as long as there's uncertainty, prices of oil and gas will go up. That's the certain. We've seen that in past oil crises. We've seen that last year when the global economy opened. And with this uncertainty, we have to brace for the worst. Oil prices might even reach $150 per barrel if this uncertainty persists.
And right now, it's about what, 113 or 115 per barrel?
It fluctuates between 110 to 120. But with the latest pronouncement of the US that they will cut purchases of Russian oil, and the UK will also cut purchases of Russian oil until the end of the year. That will have a tremendous impact because basic concept here is where will UK source their oil? They probably source their oil from where we source. So pushing us out and curbing global supply.
Yeah, so when they say, Senator Win, ang layo naman ng Russia and Ukraine sa atin and we don't get our oil from Russia, there is actually this domino effect to us. As you mentioned a while ago, the recent development in the US that they will stop the importation of oil from Russia.
Yeah. Well, Pinky, let me just say this. The energy business is a long-term business, meaning we have to have the solutions now in order to prevent problems of the future. And what we are seeing here in our country right now is years of neglect, because we haven't discovered a single new drop of oil and gas after Malampaya, and that's 30 years ago. We're heavily dependent on foreign oil. That means 100% of our gasoline, diesel are all supplied from abroad. We import almost 100% of our coal, and that's 50% of our energy mix. So in other words, throughout the years, we rely so heavily on imported materials. And that makes us very susceptible to price shocks. We also removed our shock absorbing mechanism. If you remember, the OPSF was a means to shock absorb fluctuations of global prices. But we removed that. Instead, we replaced it with Pantawid Pasada, which I think is very effective because it's targeted. But unfortunately, to implement Pantawid Pasada, it takes 60 days. Ika nga, patay na yung kabayo before we can implement that. No? So we have to also institutionalize a shock-absorbing mechanism. And this is the Pantawid Pasada, making sure that whenever there is abrupt increase in prices, we can remit the cash to our drivers immediately, instantaneously, if we can.
Yung sinabi po ninyo a while ago, just so we better understand the situation, this has been years or decades of neglect. Whose fault is that?
Well, the Department of Energy is in charge of discovering new oil and gas. They're in charge of lessening our dependence to imported materials. They're in charge of making us self-sufficient by using renewables, by using biofuels. We have all the laws in place. We have an energy efficiency law that will reduce consumption of electricity. We have the biofuels law that will use indigenous materials such as sugarcane and coconut in our fuels. We have the renewable energy law, which will increase the use of renewable. All of these laws are in place, but we need to be more aggressive, and we need to roll out the red carpet to investors, because our regime is a deregulated regime, meaning private investments are welcome, but we need to make it easier for them.
And we have not done that. Not us. You're saying basically the Department of Energy has not done its job good enough or well enough?
Well, Pinky, I mentioned this before. To get a permit to build a power plant takes about 4 years. Just a permit lang to. To get your permits, to get your documentation, to get all the signatures in place, it takes about 4 years. And you can ask any power plant, any proponent of power plant to do that, to validate this information. It takes another 3 years to build a power plant. That's 7 years to inject a single watt of power into the grid. So in other words, if you are forecasting to have a shortage 7 years from now, you need to build the power plant now, because that's how far off you have to forecast in order to inject new power.
And why does it take 4 years for permits to be fulfilled? And of course, well, wag na po yung 3 years to build the power plant. What is the problem? Why is it taking 4 years para po lang makakuha o ma-approve ang isang power plant?
Pinky, our country is always plagued with red tape and bureaucracy. Yan ang pinakasakit ng bansa natin. Because the permit goes all the way down to the barangay level. That's why we enacted the Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop law in order to give DOE extra powers to cut red tape and to give DOE the power to even issue provisional permits. That's in the law. But again, the law should be implemented. Without implementing the law, it's just a piece of paper. So it's important that DOE, moving forward, the next DOE secretary should be a visionary, having long-term views on long-term problems. The next DOE secretary should have the political will to implement the law, and most especially the new DOE secretary should have solutions now in order to prevent problems of the future.
Are you happy with the work so far of Secretary Cusi?
Well, we're experiencing, Pinky, all of us being a consumer, we're experiencing high prices of oil. We're experiencing high prices of electricity. In the next few months, coming summer, there's a big threat of brownouts. As a consumer, I'm not happy because I don't think we can run a business with the threat of brownouts. I don't think we can run any business with the threat of high prices of oil. So we're suffering right now as consumers because of lack of foresight and lack of vision.
So he's not doing a good job for you?
For me, my basic answer there is yes.
Okay, let's get that clear. All right. So I want to talk about that later. I hope we have time for that, no? Because I was mentioning a while ago, I heard your radio interview regarding how power plants get their permits and how long it actually takes for them to establish or to build these power plants. And as you mentioned a while ago, para lang po alam natin, 7 years on average. The next question to that is, are there enough investors who actually want to come in, knowing that this is the time frame that they will have to, well, experience or have to go through before the actualization of a power plant?
Binky, businesses will always look for a good opportunity. And because we're a growing country, our economy is growing at a clip of about 5% to 6% pre-pandemic time. Our population is growing, meaning the consumption of electricity will eventually grow. And that's an opportunity for business people, for businessmen to come in and invest in our power sector. And the proof of the pudding there is whenever there's a bidding through a CSP, you'll see a lot of power players coming in. But we are seeing the same power players coming in, the same personalities, the same companies. What we need is to spread the base, attract new players, attract foreign capital to come in. But the foreign capital will only come in if it's easy for them. If they will be plagued with red tape and with corruption, then they're not going to come in. So in other words, yes, the short answer to that is there is private capital investing into the power sector is there, but we need to roll out the red carpet for them.
Make it a little bit more attractive. So there's no dearth of investors coming in. Let's go back to our initial talk about the prices of fuel. Sabi po ni Congressman Salceda nga, possibly by next week, 11 pesos per liter. What kind of computation do you have? And let's also understand again the situation, because we average this on a weekly basis. In other words, if the prices of crude per barrel is at, let's say 100 yesterday, it's 110 the other day, and 120 the day before that. This will have to average on a 7-day average, and then hence that's when we know the kind of increase na i-implement, because the increases only come once a week. What is your estimate right now so that the public, can be made aware of how much to expect in terms of fuel prices?
Well, Pinky, prices have gone up by an average of 20% from 30 days ago. And with the projections that I'm seeing, the possibility of going up by another 10 pesos per liter is not remote. The question there is when. No? If the war will prolong, meaning it will take another 30 days or even longer, then the 10 pesos will happen sooner. I don't think to give you a direct answer, the 10 pesos increase will happen. It's just a matter of when, because of the uncertainty. But again, if Russia and Ukraine decides to come up with a win-win solution and come to terms, then obviously that will not happen. But with the uncertainty, the 10 pesos will happen.
What is the worst case scenario you're looking at?
Wow, I've seen a lot of analysts talk about this. Some are forecasting $200 per barrel. Some are forecasting even more. We have to take note that Russia is a major oil supplier. No? They supply about 10% of the global supply. That's about 7 million barrels per day. And if the entire EU will stop buying from them, that entire EU bloc will buy from somewhere else. They'll probably buy from where we are buying, meaning the Middle East. So that will push us out, and supply will go down. And that's what's pushing the prices upwards. Right. So in other words, we also have to think of the worst in terms of supply. We're just talking about prices, Pinky. We're not even talking about supply yet. But we have to also think of the worst when it comes to supply, because in our policy, companies are mandated to store 30 days of inventory. Right. After 30 days, there's no more supply. So I'm actually proposing to increase the minimum oil inventory to 45 days to give that extra 15 days of buffer. And government subsidize the carrying cost, because when these companies buy another 15 days, they have to pay for interest. And that's where government comes in terms of energy security.
Yeah, I wanted to actually go there because from my understanding with the DOE Undersecretary, oil companies have a buffer of about 30. In fact, if I remember right, I said 30 to 40 days, but you just clarified that that's 30 days. Your proposal now is to increase that to 45 days. Still a lot of issues to talk about, but we need to take a very short break. The Source with the Senator Win Gatchalian. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Senator Win Gatchalian. Sir, earlier you said that it seems that the Pantawid Pasada program will suffice for now? I think I heard you say that a while ago, government was planning 2.5 billion, but an additional 2.5 billion is being proposed. I'm not sure if that is with certainty already. So sapat ho ba talaga ito? Number one, ha? And number two, kayo ho ba nagtataka or are you concerned that it's taking a while before the drivers actually receive this ayuda from government?
So, Pinky, the Pantawid Pasada is a form of replacement from the OPSF. This is a shock absorbing mechanism, meaning whenever oil prices go up, the fares cannot go up in tandem with that oil prices. So we need a shock absorbing mechanism temporarily, meaning it can be as long as 30 days or even 60 days. But we need a shock absorbing mechanism. And this is the shock absorbing mechanism. But we have to give it fast because the oil prices are going up fast. Fares are not going up as fast as the oil prices. So we need a mechanism wherein the drivers can tap into in order to alleviate their daily needs or alleviate their daily income. So this is it. Unfortunately, it's taking a time to give it to the drivers. But we have to remember, Pinky, every year we give out Pantawid Pasada. Last year, we gave out Pantawid Pasada. During the pandemic, we gave out Pantawid Pasada. The year before, we gave out Pantawid Pasada. Every year, we gave out Pantawid Pasada. We need to institutionalize this already, put all the drivers and tricycle drivers in the database, and use the most modern technology to remit it to them. For example, GCash. If we can remit the money through GCash to our drivers, then that's the best because they will get the subsidy instantaneously.
Right. Do you think it's the medium that's causing a problem, the medium by which this money will be distributed? Do you think it's the database? Because if you ask government officials, they're already looking at 377,000, if I'm not mistaken,
Correct.
drivers. No, I don't think this includes the tricycle drivers. Though my question is, bakit ho nagtatagal? I asked that, Senator, because what? This is the 10th consecutive week that prices have gone up. And yet, what it will take on the 11th week bago po matanggap yung Pantawid Pasada, yung kanilang ayuda. Alam naman po natin kung gaano kahirap yung buhay at gaano kaimportante yung kanilang kinikita araw-araw.
Yes. Pinky, the name of the game with shock absorbing mechanism is speed. You have to give it as fast as you can because what we're absorbing is the abrupt change. And if you cannot give it to our drivers, they will be the one bearing the increase or in the abrupt increase in prices. And that's what we don't want because if their income will diminish, obviously they will have very little income to bring to their homes, very little income to buy food. So we need to subsidize that in the short term. But as far as why information is concerned, what's hampering is the validation, the database, the remittance process, all of which can be done electronically. We've seen during the pandemic that giving ayuda takes time if you do it manually. It's the same with Pantawid Pasada. So we just have to do it electronically and institutionalize it because every year we actually give out Pantawid Pasada.
Yeah, but so would you say you're disappointed by which siguro sabi mo nga the name of the game here is speed, and obviously, sir, it has not been fast enough. Are you disappointed that right now hindi pa rin po nila natatanggap yung kanilang ayuda?
Yes, of course I'm disappointed because every time our drivers go out and they cannot increase fares, they have to bear the brunt of that high oil prices, and that will eat up in their income. And disappointed because they cannot take home enough money for their families. And that's where this Pantawid Pasada will come in. Or else, malulubog yan sa utang. In the short term, they'll probably go out to 5-6 or to some loan shark to borrow and wait for the Pantawid Pasada to come in and pay those debts. But then again, those debts will earn interest. And that will also hamper on their income. So, in other words, Pinky, what I'm driving at is we give out Pantawid Pasada every day. There's no reason for it to be delayed because it's already, the database is already there. There's GCash and e-wallets that we can use to remit it instantaneously. I don't see any reason why this is taking so long.
But what is the possibility if the database is there? e-wallet is
Actually-
available. What's
actually,
taking
Pinky-
so long?
Actually, Pinky, the money is already there. 2.5 billion.
Yeah, it's in the
is
GAA
already
of
in the
20.
budget. Correct. 2.5 billion is already there. And if you look at the quick response funds of the different agencies, that will add up to about 6 billion. So the money is already there. It's just a matter of giving that money, transferring it to the pockets of our drivers.
Yeah, so it still doesn't answer my question. Bakit hindi pa
It's
rin po
right.
kaya nila nakukuha hanggang
Well,
ngayon?
like I said, Pinky, our government is always plagued with red tape and bureaucracy. And it's also a sickness in the giving out of ayuda and giving out of this type of subsidy. We need to overcome the red tape and bureaucracy of our government. And again, we have to use the most modern technology to do that. It can be done. No, it can be done.
And it is ironic, sir, that for so many years we've been giving out ayudas, obviously even to the poorest of the poor, ano po, and yet right now there's still a delay of such that you're looking at a possible emergency situation already for the drivers. And we're just talking about drivers here. We're not even talking about the other Filipinos or us. Yung po mga taong apektado nito. Just quickly, I want to talk about excise taxes. Okay, there's been calls to suspend excise taxes. Okay, let's already say that nandiyan naman po ang pantawid, 2.5 billion, dadagdagan din po ng 2.5 billion. Are you not considering, what is your stand on excise taxes? When should this be suspended?
Okay, Pinky, I'm open to suspending excise taxes as the last resort. We have to remember suspending excise tax will take away approximately 90 billion pesos from government coffers.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. If you juxtapose that with Pantawid Pasada is only 5 billion. So giving out 5 billion versus taking away 90 billion is a big difference. But that should be the last resort. And I say that if the situation becomes prolonged, and the prices of oil becomes elevated for a long time. Now, how long is yet to be discussed. If you look at the old train law, if prices of oil will remain elevated at
$80 per
barrel for 3 months.
3 months.
Yes, they can suspend excise tax. So, in other words, 3 months is the time frame threshold that we're looking at. No?
Yeah.
But I'm open to that, but that's the last resort.
But is an amendment, or does it need an act of Congress to be able to suspend excise taxes, or can the executive do this? Tanggalin po natin muna yung 3 months, 80 barrels, $80 per barrel.
Yes, it needs a new law, no, because that provision of 3 months time frame has expired already. So in other words, Congress needs to convene, come up with a new law to give the power to the president to suspend excise tax if necessary.
Senator, is it because you're saying that napasuna po yung 3 months, $80 per barrel because this was supposed to be in 2018, 2019, and 2020 when there were 3 tranches of increases in excise taxes?
Correct. The logic there is because we are adding excise taxes on fuel. In an event that prices of oil remains elevated for 3 months at 80 barrels, per $80 per barrel, government has the power to suspend it. That's in the context of increasing excise taxes on fuel. But since we already increased it, then we have suspended, or we don't have any more that power to suspend excise tax.
I spoke to Senator Franklin Drilon yesterday, and he said that the train law should be understood and applied and interpreted on a liberal manner. But I need to take a very short break. We will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today is Senator Win Gatchalian. Sir, there's so much I want to ask you, but this is important. Sabi mo, as a last resort, ng suspension of excise tax. I know that you looked into this, and you have been as also chairman of the Energy Committee. Ano po? At what point or price point would you say it will actually push you to already call for the suspension of excise taxes?
Okay. The minimum benchmark before, Pinky, is 3 months at $80 per barrel. Obviously, right now, we're averaging around 100, 120 per barrel. It's been like that for the last probably 20 days. So if you ask me, if prices will remain at $120 per barrel, I'm probably looking at probably about 45 days to 60 days till we trigger their suspension. No? And that's a possibility because of the war. In the past few increases in oil, it's all temporary. No? Increase in demand, some aberration in in Saudi Arabia. But in this particular case, it's a war. And we don't know how long will this take. So I'm looking at, with our own calculation, I'm looking at an elevated price of about 120, probably around 45 to 60 day threshold.
And if that happens, that's when you will really push for the suspension of excise taxes. What is your stand on nuclear plants?
Okay. Pinky, the Senate has been funding the DOE's nuclear research since 2018. We funded approximately $266 million to study the possibility of injecting nuclear or using nuclear power in our energy mix. I'm open in looking at nuclear power as a source of our energy. I'm open to looking at newer technologies of nuclear. There's so many new technologies now. The small modular reactors, materials, nuclear materials that can be recycled. There's so many new technologies. So I'm open. However, the study should be made public. The study should be made available to those who are interested in this technology. Transparency is very important when we talk about nuclear because this is a risky fuel source. And we need to understand whether the benefits outweigh the risk involved in nuclear.
Is there even a chance for the revival of the Bataan nuclear power plant?
Pinky, let me just erase some misconceptions, no? Because I've been to the same plant of Bataan nuclear power plant in Slovenia. And during that time, Senate President Coco Pimentel invited us to look at the brother or the sister of our Bataan nuclear power plant in Slovenia. It's operating, the same supplier, the same age, the same technology, even the same look. Yes. However, that plant is not selling cheap. It's selling approximately at 5 pesos per kilowatt hour. So meaning the nuclear plant in Slovenia is not cheap. If you look at prices of natural gas, prices of coal, even RE with batteries, they're cheaper. So in other words, why reopen a plant wherein we will not get cheap electricity? Now, I'm open to validate this information because when we went there, I talked to the CEO himself, and I was very concerned with the safety and also the pricing because if we do open Bataan nuclear power plant, we have to make sure also that this is economical for us. It's not going to put our prices up.
Nothing more expensive, of course. Unfortunately, sir, we've run out of time. I'd like to thank you, Senate Committee on Energy Chairman Win Gatchalian. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pinky.
And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.